lately I've been trying to identify why I've been struggling to create manga. Not in the sense of like writing or coming up with ideas. It's the actual act of creating, the actual drawing part I've been really struggling with. The motivation is sort of been lost to me. Like, I don't know what my true motivation is anymore. I don't know why I'm struggling. Or I didn't know why I was struggling. Now I do. But all of this kind of came to a head after I had a really emotional connection to a character in the manga one-shot Look Back, specifically Kyomoto. So, hi and welcome back to the Untitled Diary of a Mangaka podcast with me, Artcrumbs. If this is your first time with me, hi, welcome. I'm glad that you're here. I hope you'll stay. This is a podcast where I kind of share my thoughts and feelings on the manga community, and as a manga creator, share my experiences and create a space where we can all talk about it. This particular theme today we'll be looking back at my experience with Fujimoto Sensei's Look Back. I went into this movie blind without having read the manga, and it really impacted my life in ways that I still haven't fully grasped yet. But it also really made me think about why I create manga, why I draw, and that was something that I kind of talked about in the last episode, but I'm really looking forward to expanding today. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. I hope you guys will grab a snack, grab a drink, take a seat, and let's have a conversation. If you haven't seen or read Look Back yet, before we get too deep into this, I do want to drop a little bit of a disclaimer. We will be talking about heavier topics today, such as passing away, ideation, of punching tickets. There's going to be a lot of heavy discussion today. And so if you're not in a headspace for that, I perfectly understand. I encourage you to go watch a different video of mine. Take care of your mental health today. Nothing is worth you having to go through something that you're not able to handle. So as much as I would appreciate it, please take care of yourself today. Have a great day. With that disclaimer out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. So we have two main characters in Look Back. We have Kyomoto and we have Fujino. Fujino is like the main character, right? She's a young kid. She wants to make manga. She draws it for her school newspaper, and everyone tells her how great she is. And then Kyomoto joins the manga magazine. And everyone's like, wow, Kyomoto's art is like so much better than Fujino. Fujino gets super jealous. It's like, oh, like, how dare this girl be better than me? Da, da, da. Well, Kyomoto doesn't even come to school. She just stays home and draws the manga all day. So Fujino gets like super motivated to like improve and get better. And I think it was like a couple years later, Fujino just gives up. She's like, well, Kyomoto's still better than me. This isn't fair, so I'm just gonna quit. And so she quits, and she gets more involved with her family life. Eventually, Fujino and Kyomoto meet. And it turns out Kyomoto is a huge fan of Fujino. Big fan. Like, I love your work. She collects, she's collected all of them over time. She even has Fujino, sign her shirt, her jacket. And so it's like a big deal that these two meet, and they end up working on manga together, and they submit one shot after one shot after one shot after one shot, and there's tons of montages of like them finishing their work, and then they get the option to get serialized, which it's like the holy grail of like being a mangaka. You finally get the option for serialization. That's what you've been dreaming of. And then Kyomoto says, I want to go to art school. I don't want to work on being serialized with you. And of course they were walking home, and Fujino kind of turns around and looks at her and goes, why would you do that? That's stupid. Like, it's a bad idea. And Kyomoto, up to this point has kind of been a shut-in. She doesn't go out that much. She doesn't spend a lot of time outside, in terms of, like, in society. And so Fujino, initially, she goes through, like, all of the different stages of grief and mourning really, really quickly. And she's really, really upset. And one of the things that stood out to me, which is primarily what we're going to be talking about today, was the idea that Fujino can replace Kyomoto. And I mean, technically Fujino's correct. Kyomoto's skill set is replaceable. But one of the major themes throughout, that I believe, again, this is all personal opinion, one of the things that I felt was really valuable to point out was that Fujino says that Kyomoto's skill set is replaceable, and she's right. However, Kyomoto herself is not replaceable. And the main thing we're going to be talking about today is Kyomoto and her skill set. One of the things that really disappointed me with the reception of Look Back, and maybe this was talked about and I just didn't see it, but one of the things that really got to me was seeing Kyomoto be overlooked compared to Fujino. And I get that, like, Fujino is the main character, and I mean, we don't even see Kyomoto for like the majority of the story, but it feels like Kyomoto has a stronger impact on the story because of what happens to her. Kyomoto's passion for drawing backgrounds is something that I so much understand. I stuttered a little bit there, but like, I also love drawing backgrounds. I also have considered being an assistant. I would love to be an assistant, but I just don't have the skill set for it yet, because I can't speak Japanese. And like a lot of the manga assistant positions that I see, like, I need to know Japanese for. And I mean, like, there are a couple like English speaking mangaka that I could work with, but of those that have approached me to ask me if I want to be an assistant, like, none of them have had stories that I really care that much about. So like, I don't feel like contributing to it. But I guess I often feel undervalued as someone in like the Western art culture that likes environments and backgrounds. I really relate to her being dismissed, both like within the story and like by the audience. I feel like there were so many people that like latched onto Fujino, and maybe that's because more people related to Fujino, because like they want to get published, they want to get serialized, like they do all the work. And again, Fujino is the main character. But I didn't see a lot of people talking about Kyomoto and her feelings and the things that she went through, and her approach to things, because it feels like she still wanted to work with Fujino. She just wanted to get better at drawing first. Because remember, she was a big fan of Fujino in the beginning. Like, she idolized Fujino. I mean, being able to make manga. And so I feel like Fujino just wanted to, or I feel like Kyomoto just wanted to reach Fujino's level, whatever she thought that Fujino's level was. And that's what inspired her to go to art school in the first place, right? They were inspiring each other to keep improving. Not necessarily in a competitive way. I think Fujino saw it in a competitive way, but I don't think Kyomoto did. I think she understood that Fujino was better than her in some aspects. I'm pretty sure that Kyomoto could see that there was like a skill disparity between certain things, between her and Fujino. Like, Fujino was better with characters, and I don't know how much he's contributed to the writing. I don't think we get to see that part, or I don't think that part gets talked about. But I feel like Kyomoto undervalued herself, because a lot of people undervalued her, or like taught that she probably was really cognizant of the fact that a lot of people thought that she wasn't valuable as a person because she was shut in, and that's also something that I relate to, in the sense that like I also am a shut-in. I don't go out of my house very much. That's mainly because I'm just busy as hell. But like, I don't go out and do very much. I feel like the only reasons I really leave the house is when I go see my family, when I'm going shopping or to the doctor or to Japanese class. That's really like the only reasons that I like leave the house. Other than that, I'm home and I'm working. Either I'm doing global comics work, because we're all remote, so I work from home, or I'm drawing, or I'm reading, or I'm doing my Japanese homework. Like, I don't leave the house very much. Maybe that's not a good thing to admit, but the whole point of the podcast is to be candid with my feelings. So like, I'm just being honest. Like, she was basically told that like her aspirations were not valuable, what she wanted to do, and that's depressing. I also went to art school, and was told that it was a waste of time, that there's no point in going. It's not going to be valuable to you, for other reasons, mainly because I couldn't draw. And also, art isn't a valid career, and in light of all the AI stuff that's been going on, like, that's stuff that I've had people asking me is like, oh, well, is going to art school valuable to you? And I'm like, I think it depends on a lot of things. That's a conversation for another day, but I can relate to a lot of the stuff that Kyomoto was probably feeling. And as we're watching Fujino sort of like move on without Kyomoto, and succeed and gain popularity and have all these volumes for her manga, I did relate to Fujino too. Like, I felt really happy and optimistic, that like someday, like, that could be me too. I could have a series and my one shot could get serialized. I mean, my own one shot was only published, like 2 months before I got to see it in theaters. And after it got published, like, I did other promotion for it. And I hit a wall. Like, I stalled. Only 2 months before I got to see the movie, I got my one shot published. 2 weeks before the movie came out, I found out I wasn't getting serialized. And so I was really in sort of like a darker spot, not like, oh, super deep dark depression, but just sort of like a dark, like I was depressed for like a little bit. I got back up pretty quickly to like start making new ideas and stuff. Like I bounced back pretty quick after that. But initially, like I had my little pity party. I feel like it's okay to have a pity party for yourself, as long as you're like self-aware enough to like not let it last for a really long time. Like, experience the emotion, like understand the emotion that you're feeling, express that emotion, and do whatever you gotta do to like get it out of your system, and then move on with your life, right? Like, I don't believe we should be repressing feeling bad for yourself. Just like, don't let it get to a toxic level. You know what I mean? But anyway, like seeing Fujino succeed and like get popularity was hopeful for me. I was like, yeah, like I can continue, like I can get there, and I can get better, and I can get serialized someday. And if you guys remember from the beginning, when I said I went into this movie blind, the next part really hit me hard. There's a scene where Fujino is drawing, and she stops drawing to look at the news. And she gets a phone call at the same time, and she finds out that Kyomoto had passed away after an attack at her art school, along with many other students. I was completely blindsided and immediately started tearing up in the theater. And like, I'm getting upset about it now. Like, I'm still not over it. And I felt like the only person in the world that understood me died. Like, I felt like Kyomoto was the only person in the world that could understand me. Because she was also a lonely person. And she also really loved backgrounds and environments. And she also went to art school. And I'm sure she struggled there, felt lonely, like she had people telling her that what she did wasn't valuable, that she was replaceable, that she didn't mean anything. It felt like I died too. And I know that sounds really silly and dramatic, but the reason why that part really hit me so hard in the theater was because, and I've not talked about like this a lot, I've shared it with a couple people. When I was in art school, I'm not going to name the school, but when I was in art school, I also struggled with my own mental health a lot. And I was in art school from the age of 21 to 24. I graduated when I was 24. So, and that was my second degree. I'm not speaking about community college. I'm speaking only about art school. Because I was fine during community college. Art school, for whatever reason, was the hard one. I had one night where I was really struggling. This was during my senior year. in the fall of my senior year, I made a direct attempt to punch my ticket. I'm not gonna like specify too much, because I don't think there's no valuable information into how I did things. But I attempted to punch my ticket in my senior year, and I narrowly escaped being Baker acted. And if you're not familiar with what that means, that basically means that you are deemed like a danger to yourself. You're not mentally well enough to make your own decisions. And the only reason that I was not Baker acted was because I agreed to a specific plan, sort of like a checking in system, if you will. And as long as I followed through with the totality of the plan, I would be allowed to finish my senior year. And so when I was confronted with someone who was just like me, in the sense that like she enjoyed what I liked and she'd been through a lot of the things that I'd been through, like seeing what happened to her, it felt like a flashback to me, right? Like it was weird. It was like watching a small portion of my life on screen. And it shook me so hard because I hadn't really thought about it in a long time. Because I remember asking myself the same question that Kyomoto asks Fujino. Why do you draw? Because if you guys don't know, I never intended to be an artist. When I was in my first year of college, I was actually in rad tech, radiology technology, so I would be the person who takes x-rays. But I had a big interest in getting into animal conservation, specifically like wildlife conservation or like wildlife medicine, was something that I was like really interested in. And in my first year, I was at that time diagnosed with tuberculosis, a latent form of it. So basically, if you guys aren't familiar, tuberculosis it's like a respiratory disease. It's a bacterial infection. And the bacterium basically like slowly destroys your lungs over time. And it's transmittable to animals, like other animals. And the nurse told me, she's like, well, you technically could work with this, but like, you know, like you're gonna have a really hard time finding a job in these fields because you're a liability, you're a risk, and so like people may not want you. And like all of the choices in my life were related to fields that would be hard to work in because of that diagnosis. Because it can always come back. It's one of those things where like, yes, it's curable / treatable, but it's really hard to like, at the time, and this was like 10 years ago. You know, or no, about 15 years ago. So this was a very different era in medicine. But I was basically told like, you need to quit your passion. And, you know, so like, I never intended to be an artist. I never intended to draw. I never intended to make manga or study animation. I never intended to do any of those things. And so for myself, like, I lost what I was truly passionate about when I was only 18 years old. I had volunteered at the zoo for like 5 or 6 years preparing for this career. I was like animal obsessed. I joined like the ecology club. I took care of all the animals that I could at school, in my science classes. I was on the debate team. Like I volunteered at the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium. Like that was what I did. I volunteered at like a geriatric ward. I volunteered at a wolf sanctuary. Like that was what I wanted to do in my life. Like I purposely chose the Ohio Aquarium, like Zoo and Aquarium, the specific Columbus Zoo and Aquarium in Sandusky, Ohio, because one of my heroes worked there, Jack Hanna. And like when Steve Irwin had died, I was so devastated I didn't go to school for 3 days. Like I was so devastated. So like I said, I've been like as a young child preparing for this to be my career, and at 18 it was taken away from me. So like I've already started my life over once as far as like what I want to do with my life. And so manga was my backup, and art in general was my backup plan. I mean, it's working out for me, kind of, sort of. I feel like I've done a lot with the 15 years that I've been drawing. So going back to like look back, seeing Kyomoto pass away was like it brought all of that back, like sort of like a flat like life flashing before my eyes again. And I honestly don't remember, like I know what happened as far as like the alternative event sequence. So basically what happens is as Fujino goes to Kyomoto's like wake, she blames herself for Kyomoto passing away. And she's like, I shouldn't have encouraged her to come outside. And so like she like tears up like a little yonkoma, and it slips under the door, and you go into like an alternative reality of like what if Kyomoto never went outside. And basically like the alternative was that Kyomoto still ended up going to art school, and Fujino ended up saving her instead of Kyomoto passing away. But Fujino wasn't drawing anymore. She was an athlete. And so, you know, like, no matter what, like, Kyomoto still would have gone to school. Art school. And I guess she took some solace in that. Hi, Miso. Hi. This is my cat, Miso. Yeah? Gonna say hi to everyone? No? Okay. She just wants to sit up here, I guess. But anyway, hi, Miso. So, yeah, like, it made me, like, the whole experience of, like, watching Look Back, really made me question my reasons for creating manga. And it sort of catapulted me back to my last year of art school. I've had a lot of people discourage me from making manga, like, during my time at art school. I mean, I did have people that supported me, and encouraged me to keep going, but it felt like the majority of people were not that way. And it was a really hard time, and I felt like frozen, trying to decide what I wanted to do with myself. You know, like, sometimes I wonder if making manga was a good choice. Just because it is a harder career, and it is a very long career. I mean, they say that, like, from the time that, like, you reach a professional level, it can take you 5 to 10 years to, like, actually get published and start making a living at it. So it's not an easy career by any chance. And so now, here I was, in the theater, bawling my eyes out, being asked the same question that I asked myself many years ago. Why do you draw? Why do I draw? So, to get to the questions, I'm sure that's why y'all are here. For our first question, is there a reason that you started making manga specifically? Comics, manga, whatever. In this case, I'll count them as the same thing. But, like, what's the reason that you started making manga specifically? After, 15 years of making art now, I don't have an answer as to why I draw or, like, make manga. Like, why I specifically chose those things as, like, the alternative. I guess, like, looking back at the movie, like, the joy of creating manga should be enough for me. Like, I should make manga because I enjoy to make manga. And I want to reject the need for external validation, anger-driven motivation, and just like embrace the simple love that I have for making manga. I enjoy making manga. It's fun. I hope that the realization of these things that I had over break, and because I rewatched the movie over break, I hope that like just that realization can sort of console me and can mark like a turning point in my life, that will allow me to continue creating manga on my own terms, driven by like the love of the craft and passion, rather than feeling like I need to prove myself to other people, or like prove other people wrong, or like I guess I don't know, like not get dragged into comparing myself to other people, because I know that that's something that I used to do a lot in art school, something I try not to do now. And like reading the books and watching the documentaries that I mentioned in the previous episode really made me realize that my motivation stemmed a lot from spite, resentment, proving people wrong, that like doubted my ability to succeed as like a non-Japanese mangaka, and having achieved like a lot of significant milestones over the last couple of years, like being published and getting to work with editors like Hisashi-san. Like I've found myself really struggling with like a lack of direction after accomplishing those goals, which, you know, I talked about a little bit earlier. I think like the reason that I wanted to create is to just share my experiences with the world, to put them out on paper. Like I need them outside of my body, but also to like live vicariously through my own manga. Like I really love traveling, but it's just so expensive. For me, it's prohibitively expensive. And by making up worlds, by like drawing ones that I'd like to visit, that I can't visit, I can travel there by drawing it. Like by the time I'm done drawing, I have a better understanding of those places and those cultures and those people. And I think that's like as close as I'm gonna get to traveling, because like I said, it's prohibitively expensive, at least at this point in my life. I don't know, maybe a year from now I can come back to this video and say I'm so glad I started this podcast. Like I can actually follow through on some of my dreams. Alright, and with that, we have another episode in the books. Thank you all so much for being here. If you guys want to answer the questions that I listed or provide your own opinions on what I talked about, please leave them in the comment section. The questions that I asked will be listed in the pinned comment. So if you want to just like copy paste that and then add your answers, that's a lot easier than you having to like circle back and like try to remember what the questions were. And with that, we are like actually officially done. So thank you all so much for listening to this episode of my podcast. This is episode number 3. So thank you all for being here. I super duper appreciate it. I hope you guys will look forward to the next episode, which will be about one-shots. I know that might be a hot take for some people, but specifically why I think people should be making one-shots and not series. Like the basically the benefits of starting with one-shots versus starting with like a large series initially. That was a really hot topic on my own Twitter, because I made a thread about it like a year and a half ago. So that's what we're going to be talking about, is that thread, which got me a lot of heat. So I'd be curious, now that I've grown a little bit more as a creator, I'm curious to see what my thoughts are about it. So yeah, I'll be working on that one next. So I hope you guys will join me for that one. Again, my name is Artcrumbs. This is my Untitled Diary of a Mangaka podcast, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. If you don't want to miss out on the next episode, please subscribe and then hit the bell so that you'll get a notification when the next one drops. So I'll see you guys soon. Have a wonderful day. Take it easy. Stay safe. Ciao.